Good evening. My name is Kevin Mullally, the youngest child of Mike and Phyllis. On behalf of our family, thank you for being with us tonight to honor the life of Mike Mullally Sr. Our father had many admirable traits. His signature smile, endless energy, and extraordinary consistency are familiar to everyone. We all benefited from his tremendous passion for life, his wife, his family, his faith, and all the incredible friends and colleagues he enjoyed so much. He loved each of us deeply. He lived his creed. He was a cheerful and enthusiastic example of Christ's message. Dad was passionate about many things, but none more than his wife and family. He frequently expressed his love for us and was quick to praise us for accomplishments large and small. We suspect he spoke often of us to you, so consequently, we offer our most sincere apology for the many stories of our exploits you may have endured over the years. We know that any success we have in life is primarily due to our parents' endless supply of encouragement, guidance, discipline, and support. In other words, their love. Our mother displayed it through her gracious discipline and exemplary behavior. Dad's love was overt, unavoidable, overpowering. There was no obstacle, no perceived wrong in life that Dad's smile, encouragement, counsel, and confidence could not overcome. He was our North Star, the light that guided us to safety in troubled times, and the bedrock for our character. Mom and Dad's life together always seemed predestined. They first met in 1949, the year before he departed for seminary school. In the summer of 1952, while standing in line for ice cream at a Knights of Columbus picnic, he was struck by this stunning figure in a pair of blue jeans in front of him. Phyllis Wangler turned with a glowing smile and said, "Hi, Mike." Dad did not return to seminary the following year. Our lives have been uniquely enhanced by Dad's abiding optimism. Many of you knew Mom and Dad later in life as they enjoyed the spoils of their success. Only family and longtime friends will recall that when they got married at ages 19 and 18, they had a mere $65 in their checking account. Undaunted by this obvious risk, they did the logical thing and immediately started a family. Susan was born 10 months after marriage, and Michael followed 10 and a half months later, which I believe is the biological minimum. Jane, Stephen, and I would arrive in quick succession. You could say they had a sense of urgency or not enough money to pursue any other form of entertainment. There's logic to support either conclusion. Dad was working long hours to sustain our family in those formative years, yet he always made time for us. During this incredibly challenging period and throughout our lives, it never seemed to occur to Dad that things would not work out. No matter the difficulty, Dad was confident they would find a way. His example laid the basis for my siblings' natural confidence, which has been fundamental to our success. Dad provided a living example of Christ's beautiful words about faith from Matthew's gospel. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Dad's core virtues reveal themselves in the many remarkable achievements of his rich, full, and purposeful life. They are woven into the fabric of our lives and manifest themselves in various ways in each of us. However, to fully appreciate Dad's perspective on living, we must first understand that he was ardently focused on being a devoted, attendant, and selfless husband and father. Everything else would be subordinate to this beautiful expression of his tremendous faith. Mom and Dad shared a rare bond of love and friendship that was evident to everyone they met. They absolutely adored each other, and my siblings and I thrived in the home life they created. We lived modestly, especially in the early days, as they carefully and adeptly steered us through the many challenging obstacles that all families face. We were blessed with the confidence that no matter what hardship we might encounter, they would be there to support us. Each of my siblings is very accomplished. We were involved in an amazing array of activities as Mom and Dad prepared us for the world. A sport for every season, sometimes two. We were into piano, dance, theater, speech, politics, scouts, and clubs. Despite there being 5 of us separated by 7 years, none can remember a single contest, event, award ceremony, or special event of any sort where one of our parents was not there for us. We have no idea how they did it, but it is a joyful reminder of their devotion to God and each other. Married with modest means but grand plans, Mom and Dad set out in life with the few tools they had: their religion, natural talent, work ethic, and unwavering determination. When we were young, Dad worked 3 jobs and took classes at Northern State University in pursuit of his dream of becoming a postal inspector. A big Saturday night date involved splitting a quart of beer and listening to a baseball game on the radio while their parents looked after us. Our lives changed on January 11th, 1966, when Dad realized his dream by being sworn in to our oldest federal law enforcement agency as a U.S. Postal Inspector. Dad had a way of doing that, visualizing something and then making it happen. His appointment was the beginning of the next phase of our lives and opened the world of opportunity that we now enjoy. Dad enjoyed an impressive career. His accomplishments are too many to detail here. However, his success must always be viewed through the lens of the sacrifices he made for my siblings and me. He turned down many opportunities for advancement because it would have required a move, hindering our education, or requiring him to travel extensively. Dad understood that a list of achievements alone does not define a person. How we go about accomplishing them matters because it reveals our character. To the world, he was Inspector M.J. Mullally. To us, he never needed a title other than Dad. We knew the man who gathered the 5 of us around every night around a single bed. As we knelt to say our prayers, dressed in our footy pajamas, he led us in a simple ritual honoring the Christ that he followed, and which laid the foundation for our lives. Dad taught us to value justice, honor, education, and hard work. During more than 30 years in law enforcement, Dad encountered a vast array of society's malevolent souls: frauds, cheats, nefarious criminals. He stood up to the mob and high-paid lawyers. Yet he never became jaded or lost trust in humanity. He remained the boundless optimist that earned him the love and respect of everyone he encountered. In fact, we can say with near certainty that the only people that didn't like Dad are in jail. But Dad's career of service was not limited to law enforcement. His constant motor, passion for giving back, and need to connect and empathize with people experiencing misfortune of any kind provided the energy and industry for him to serve others throughout his life. The extensiveness of his volunteer work is indicative of the fullness of his life. As our family grew and the people he encountered in life multiplied, so did his service offerings. Dad was like the grand live oak tree outside the window of the kitchen of their home that Mom so adored. As he matured and the fruits of his life grew, he made sure he had a sturdy branch to support everyone, a shady place to seek comfort when life gets too hot, a way to give back to the world that had given him life. Dad embraced his Irish heritage. He loved to laugh and had a sharp but playful wit. A glass of bourbon was often involved. He believed that if you're going to do something in this world, you might as well have fun doing it. Part of that joy he found in his many faithful and loyal friends. He honored and nurtured those relationships with his incredible capacity to think of the other person first and to understand things from their point of view. His quick smile and cheerful laugh enlightened us all. Each of us is so grateful for the stories you have related to us about Dad's generosity. So many of you said, he's just the nicest man. Finally, you cannot talk about Dad without mentioning golf. Dad loved all sports, but he had a special relationship with golf. It makes sense. Like golf, like him, golf demands patience, respect, dedication, hard work, and the optimistic view that a bad shot is simply an opportunity for a great recovery. Golf is beautiful like his Phyllis and enduring like his faith. We could spend the evening into dawn telling golf stories about my dad, but my siblings seemed to like this one the best. Several years ago, I was up a few strokes on Dad coming down the closing stretch. As many have experienced, Dad found a way to fight his way back and beat me by one stroke on the final hole. The next day, upon visiting his doctor complaining about a lack of energy, he discovered he was 2 pints low on blood. He told the nurse he'd like the Ben Hogan 100 proof. After topping off his tank, he went out 2 days later and shot a 76 against his golf group. For the rest of his days, he vigilantly searched for that blood donor. On the evening of April 23rd, Dad went to bed thinking of the morning's golf match, most certainly intent on putting another 76 on the boys. As dawn broke, his devoted children would begin calling to hear the loving, energetic voice that had guided, fueled, and celebrated our lives. For the first time, the calls would go unanswered. But our dad's story does not end in that lifeless bed with his loyal dog Maggie standing guard in his final repose. We are blessed with a vision of a young Mike, body lean and taut, back razor straight, sprinting up pristine steps, first 2, then 3 to go. As he charges towards St. Peter's wide open gates, his jet black hair is tossing, his sharp eyes riveted on his prize. There stands Phyllis, with blushed cheeks and eager anticipation as Dad pours himself into the comfort of her welcoming embrace. They celebrate his triumph with a kiss, emblematic of a love so pure that angels rejoice. Dad's final victory is his best. His familiar broad smile shines brightly, knowing that he has not left our calls unanswered. His ascendance signifies a mission completed, a covenant fulfilled. He entrusts us with vast treasures of lessons, ideals, experiences, values, and memories powerful enough to light the path for the remainder of our journeys. It was a life worth living and a man worth remembering. Dad, as we say farewell and Godspeed, we realize it is now our challenge to carry on your remarkable legacy until we meet again on the dawn of our eternal life. Thank you.
So I guess a few of us are going to have a few words. I have just a few brief words. Kevin talked about Dad's optimism. Nobody who knew him, missed his optimism. So think back to 1936. It was the middle of the Depression. His brothers were fixing to go off to war. They always said World War II made my grandfather an old man because we didn't know whether Frank was going to come back or not. So, he's in the middle of depression. World War II is going on. He doesn't know if he's going to lose his brother. and he has this optimism. So how does that happen? He had family and he had church. He had 10 brothers and sisters, and I'm convinced that's where his optimism came from, because they're all alike. They're all optimistic about life. And so stay with your family and encourage each other, and you'll be strong like my father was. The one story I want to talk about is he was telling me how proud he was to walk around with Grandpa and make sure that everybody down the street had their lights off during World War II. And I go, Dad, did it ever occur to you that if the Germans got to South Dakota, the war would be over? So, you know, they kept waiting for the War Department to give them news of Frank. And finally, two guys in, you know, in military attire show up, and they didn't know, you know, if he was going to be dead or what, but they brought the letter where Frank said.
They were the two people from the post office.
Oh, from the post office.
The post office that saw the letter come through.
Oh, saw it come through, right?
The postmaster and the clerk that found the letter.
Right.
He brought it into the.
Right. So they get the letter and they open it up, and you know, it's great news and joy that, you know, Frank writes home and he says, you know, I'm alive, I'm well, and oh, by the way, how's Notre Dame doing this year? So anyway, Dad, we love you.
Susan?
I just wanted to tell a story I remember from childhood. I'm thinking first grade, second grade, Michael would have been in first. And I think it was about the time the Kennedy 50-cent piece came out after President Kennedy had died, and we were losing our teeth. And so Daddy would tell us, put the tooth under your pillow. And we did. And then the next morning we woke up and there was a Kennedy 50-cent piece under our pillow. And we just, wow, because it was a really big coin. And of course, we all adored President Kennedy. And that was quite a deal to have a Kennedy 50-cent piece for my parents, because they were poor. But Daddy got 5 of them. And so we at least, each of us, I think, had one for one tooth. And I just thought, man, Daddy, how did this come? And he said, it's the Irish tooth fairy. And I just thought, wow, Dad can do anything. He brings us Irish fairies. And so when Dad left that night in April, I thought, of all the things he did for us, I thought, yes, he's that near perfect. God looked and said, Mike Mullally, you are not going to die of COVID. You're not going to end up in a hospital where no one can see you, and you'll have to be alone. I'm going to take you tonight. The Irish fairies are coming. And he left. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
I believe, Richard English, if you are on the phone, let me try to unmute you. I'm actually going to unmute everybody. I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. So Richard, if you can just unmute yourself there.
There we go.
Very good.
All right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Certainly, I was able to work with Mike for quite a few years with AMUD. And I will say that when I first started with AMUD in the year 2000, I realized early on that I had a well-balanced board. The board members, they brought experience and expertise from a wide variety of backgrounds. to the table. And certainly Mike always stood tall in that regard. I will also say that in my appreciation that he, through the years, he always respected and supported AMUD staff at every level. And we certainly felt the same way about him. I will mention one thing that really I think was quite unique about Mike as far as his time on the board was that, and this may be something that stemmed from his time in the Postal Service, but he absolutely during the board meeting took tons and tons of notes. And in fact, I think the rest of the board finally just went to referring to him as copious notes that he was taking. And so when the time came and he was elevated to board president, we had an official remove the notepad ceremony so that he could stay on point as far as, you know, presiding over the meetings. But pretty amazing stuff, you know, love the guy. And I don't know if you run across those notepads, but, you know, watch out if they're in the closet, they may hurt you when they fall.
Yeah,
We have a very tall staff.
Richard, those might be a public record. As a lawyer, I'll get rid of those for you.
There you go. There you go.
Not sure the person carrying out or not.
You know, one thing I will mention, I did through these years have several opportunities to play golf with Mike. And the one thing that absolutely amazed me was to be there standing on the tee box, watching him take a drive and almost fly out of his shoes every single time. I mean, he absolutely put a lot of energy in it. You know, he put everything into his work as well as his play. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Whenever he played with a great golfer, he would say, you know, it's easy to hit a ball when you got perfect balance. You should try to do it when you're falling down.
There you go. No, I'll just wrap up saying that without question, AMUD's in a better place thanks to board members like Mike, and he was top shelf all the way.
Thank you, Richard.